Greetings and salutations, everyone, and welcome back to another of my videos. If this is your first time stopping by my channel, welcome. My name is Doreen Reed, and I post content on things that are about education, all things cultural, and all things creative. And for my returning viewers, welcome, maximum respect, and big up yourself. Now, let's get straight into today's video. Today, I'm going to share with you a video that I found on another person's channel. It's called, I don't remember the name of his channel, it's a Trinidadian. And he was comparing the culture in Trinidad to some of the things that are cultural in Jamaica, just to see the difference with the two. Now, listen before you all choose to come for me. I am a Jamaican, and of course, when I listened to the video, there were some things that I frankly disagreed with. I can't tell you that I know all the things about Trinidad, but I would have experienced some of Trinidad in my own way, especially the food, etc. And so, I want you to watch this video and you are going to tell me your thoughts. So if you are familiar with the culture in Trinidad, you're familiar with the culture in Jamaica, let me hear your thoughts on these views that this gentleman is sharing as it relates to the different things in both spaces. Which is your choice? And all I'm going to ask you to do once you've identified yours, just drop in the comment section and say, listen, Jamaica or Trinidad. Or you can be very specific. So if you talk about the food, talk about the people, whatever it is, put it in the comment section. So let us hear what he has to say.
Is a bit antagonist, Trinidad versus Jamaica. Now, before we get going on this topic, I just want to say a lot of this is based on my experience, and my opinions will form based on those experiences. You might have a different experience with similar situations, and that's okay, all right? I'm just giving you my perspective. Why tackle this topic? For one, I'm Trinidadian. Born, raised, went to school, worked there, and then over 10 years ago, I moved to Jamaica, and I've been living here for some time. So I have that perspective as a Trinidadian and now living in Jamaica. I can maybe point out one or two little differences, you know what I mean? And there is this little rivalry that goes on between the islands in the Caribbean. No, we're very supportive of each other. We very much love our Caribbean brethren, but there's this little rivalry. It's usually peacock and not serious, but sometimes with governmental involvement and immigration issues that happened a few years ago, it could get a little, intense at times. But generally, we live really well together within the Caribbean region. All right, with all that being said, let's talk about the first topic. The most important one to me, food. Of course, I am biased. I'm Trinidadian. I born and grew up with the food from Trinidad. But I'm not going to talk about taste and that kind of thing too much. What I really want to look at is variety. And Trinidad has so many cultural influences, and it is so evident in the food. Even going back to the Tainos, Creole, Indian, Syrian, Spanish influences in our everyday food. The two major population groups in Trinidad is of East Indian descent and of African descent, and the food also reflects that. So therefore, the variety of food and dishes that you can get in Trinidad is way more than I have experienced in Jamaica. An example of this is if you go to the food courts in the malls in Trinidad, you could get fast food, you will get Indian food, you will get Chinese food, even sometimes Japanese food, you'll get Syrian food, and even the Creole dishes. So in that one food court area, you'll be able to get all of that. And this is very common. You don't have to search far and wide in Trinidad to get and have access to different variety of food. In Jamaica, yes, there is a different variety, but not the amount that I see in Trinidad. Now, going to talk to taste a little bit. I have tried, guys, in Jamaica. The patties, I love patties and everything, but nothing hits in the morning like a hot doubles. You have to experience it to know what I'm talking about, okay?
Did he just say doubles taste better than patties? No. I listen, I love me some chickpeas. Love me some curry chickpeas. But there's absolutely no way I could agree that the doubles taste better than the patty first thing in the morning. Nothing hits better than a real hot patty in the morning. And I've tried doubles in the morning, trust me. The patty, Mwah.
And the reason for that, as I mentioned, is cultural diversity. And that's the next point that I think Trinidad has more than Jamaica, or at least it's highlighted and in your face more than it is in Jamaica. Yes, Jamaica, there is the motto, out of many, one people. And that is very, very correct. Yes, Jamaica has the different influences, but when it comes to culture and religion, it tends to be somewhat homogenous, somewhat monolithic. Whereas in Trinidad, it ain't monolithic at all. You go to almost any village in Trinidad, you'll find a Hindu temple, you'll find a Muslim mosque, and you'll find a church or two. It's very common to see it in Trinidad. There are certain parts in Trinidad where a mosque and Hindu temple and church might be right next to each other. All right? It just shows you how the different religions culturally coexist peacefully in Trinidad. Also connected is the religious holidays. When I was a little boy growing up, we used to celebrate Christmas. When it was Diwali, we used to go down by my uncle down south, spend Diwali there. When it was Eid, we had cousins who we used to go by for Eid, and friends we used to go by for Eid. I grew up in Trinidad celebrating everything, and it was beautiful, and I really love that experience.
I tend to agree with him on the diversity component of it in terms of the cultural diversity, how highlighted it is. I don't think in Jamaica it is as highlighted as in other spaces. And some of the things that he's mentioning in Trinidad, I'm sure they exist in Jamaica or some of it. But how many of us are even aware of it? So I tend to want to agree with him on that one.
Trinidadians like to lime. For those of you who don't know what liming means, liming is going out, hanging out, going out with your friends, going out with family, all that together, we call that liming. We are always so busy doing stuff. It is not really like a calm, relaxing environment. Like I remember being in Trinidad, and when I go back, I am always reminded of this. Every weekend, you work during the week, but every weekend, there is something to do. Some family have some event, some get together, some birthday, some christening happening. If it's not that, there is some religious event that you have to partake in. Beach lime, river lime. There is always something happening. Trinidadians will have any excuse to get out of the house and go somewhere and lime. Always so busy. It's only when I come to Jamaica and when I return to visit Trinidad, I'm now reminded, wow, Trinidadians don't stay home. Let me relax for the weekend and don't do nothing. Let me take it easy vibe. That is almost non-existent in Trinidad, at least in my experience. Trinis love to go out. Trinis love to be busy or keep themselves busy doing something. It's always something.
Listen, Jamaicans also love to lime. I don't know where in Jamaica he resides, where he's been, but there's always something to do in Jamaica. Something is always keeping. People are always going somewhere. Every day is another party, and it doesn't take much. If you go out on the streets, people are playing music and people are just chilling out on the street. So I'm not quite agreeing with him. As a matter of fact, I think liming may be a Caribbean thing. So I don't think it is one over the other. I just believe that the islands, they lime differently. But I wouldn't say it's one over the other at all when it comes on to the liming part, because I know that there's always something happening in Jamaica. That's why people always say Jamaica always a keep. I mean, come on. But I'd like to believe that's a Caribbean trait and not just Jamaica, Trinidad, etc. or who limes more than the other. I just believe it's a case where the different islands, the lime happens in different ways.
And very thinly related to that is one of the things I like about Jamaica, which is Jamaica has this laid-back feel, or if you want to put it another way, Jamaica feels like an island, like a tropical island. An example of this is when I come back to the airport in Jamaica and I land and I come off the plane, automatically I get this kind of island relaxed vibe. They say Jamaica, no problem. That is a true thing. You feel it in the atmosphere. But it also has to do with how Jamaica presents itself. Tourism is the biggest product here in Jamaica, so they try to keep it like an island. In the grill, there are actually laws in place where you can't build a building higher than the coconut trees. Therefore, all the hotels and whatnot intermingles well with the beautiful surroundings, and it keeps that island look, that island vibe. Trinidad, on the other hand, when they're talking about development, it's a different thing. Trinidad takes on a more first world kind of development, at least the facade of it. Like when you look at Port of Spain looks like a little Miami, all the tall skyscrapers and whatnot. And I like that to a point. I like that Trinidad has this kind of developed look in certain areas. It does look nice and modern, but at times I'm wondering, do we forget that Trinidad is an island, and not just an island, a tropical island? And are we trying to develop it in a way that it's not really meant to be developed in? I don't know if you understand what I'm saying. That is not suited to the environment and the climate. I don't know. It's just at times I feel that the development in Trinidad is geared towards the next point of mine, which is Trinidad is built for consumerism. I mentioned malls before. Trinidad, we have to remember, is almost half the size of Jamaica. It might be a little more than half, but there are so many shopping malls. Jamaica does not really have shopping malls. They have plazas, but when I say shopping mall, I'm talking about a big air-conditioned building where you could walk between store to store, relaxing in their AC, just like the malls they have in the US and whatnot. But there is many examples of that in Trinidad. There is Trin City Mall, Long Circular Mall, Gulf City Mall, West Mall, and more malls opening. Every time I go back, there are just so much of it. And these malls are always packed. There is always people shopping all the time.
Malls, yes. He's right about the malls. The first time, I think I've only been to one of them, and it's Trin City Mall. And when I saw it for the very first time, I was shocked. I was like, but this represents the malls that they have in America and these other spaces. And I'm like, do we actually have these kind of malls in the Caribbean? And I was wondering to myself at the time if we had any other Caribbean island with malls of that nature. And so yes, in Jamaica we have plazas where it's easy walk, just walk through, etc. But I'm talking about those big malls in Trinidad. They do exist, extremely developed in that kind of way. When you walk in one, you don't feel like you're in a tropical space, as he actually said. And so that has also been my experience as it relates to development and the malls within Trinidad. What has been your experience? Put it in the comment section.
Of course, one major point about Jamaica is the beauty of the island. Now, Trinidad is a beautiful country. There are many things to see, from the North Coast beaches to the nice, beautiful hikes through the ranges and whatnot. The Carney Swamp is fantastic. So Trinidad does have its beauty. When you're looking for textbook tropical island beauty, you cannot beat Jamaica. The blue, clear, turquoise water and white sand beaches for miles. Jamaica has that in spades. The clear river water with fantastic waterfall. I hope Jamaicans really appreciate how beautiful of an island they have, and they could appreciate the value it brings to the country. And I know it's hard to compare the beauty of the islands because that's just the nature of the island, the topography and whatnot. The water in Trinidad in the beaches is darker, way darker than in Jamaica. It's just a very beautiful island. Another major point that we could look at is music. Now, music in Trinidad is very seasonal. Soca, calypso especially, and even now to a point chutney, because of the soca chutney, monarch and that kind of thing. It is very seasonal. So around carnival time, it gets very, very popular for a few months and then it tapers off. Soca and chutney and soca chutney takes on a more party vibe. Yes, the calypso has social commentary, and then after the season, people tend to shift back to other forms of music, other genres of music, and dancehall and reggae are some of the genres of music people switch back to after the carnival. The average person in Jamaica and the average young person in Jamaica is way more connected to the reggae and dancehall than in Trinidad, connected to soca and calypso and that kind of thing. For one, dancehall and reggae really, and it has been this way for decades, they really speak to the Jamaican experience, what it is to be Jamaica, what it is to have a difficult life in Jamaica and striving for better. And yes, there is the dancehall songs that's all about partying and dancing. A lot of songs do speak to the core Jamaican experience, and that's why I think it connects a little more, not even a little more, a lot more to the average Jamaican, and they feel way more connected to the music. Now, we are all connected, and I'm not comparing if one song is better than the other. You like what you like. I hope I'm making sense.
Now, this point about being connected to the music, we sometimes take it for granted, about Jamaicans being connected, and it is so true. One of the things that people will tell you and you'll hear is that dance hall is the music of the people. And I've always said, anything at all any topic, any issue, no matter what it is that you want to discuss, you can find a music in dance hall that speaks to that, because that type of music that speaks from the heart of the people. While reggae music, on the other hand, it is still connected, but it deals with another type of topic. There's a certain kind of advocacy that comes through reggae music. And one day I'm going to do a video simply on looking at both of those genres, the dancehall in terms of it being the music of the people, as well as the reggae as the advocacy. And I'm going to do that video one day, and I'm gonna also post it on our channel, and then we can talk about it just so we get a little bit deeper into it. But without a doubt, the music in Jamaica connects to people. Reggae and dancehall, there's a reason why we love it, and there's a reason why everybody loves it. Yeah.
And now let's talk about friendliness. Which island is more friendly? Now, I could only talk about my experience. I have never been made to feel unwelcomed in Jamaica. Not at all. I've always been treated well. If I have to actually think hard to think about bad interactions I've had with Jamaicans. And I know that it could be that I'm a foreigner. It's very clear from my accent, so I'm treated a certain way. I'm very open to that. But I have been welcomed, and I can't really speak to if Trinidad is friendlier, again, because I interact when I go Trinidad as a Trinidadian to a Trinidadian. You understand what I'm saying? Some interactions are bad, but most of it is good. In terms of friendliness, I think that Jamaicans who've been to Trinidad, you could talk in the comments to your experiences and let me know if you guys were treated well. But I have to say, there's a recurring thing that happens that reminds me, Jamaica being such a tourism hotspot prepares the population to be more welcoming to people. For example, every time, no matter the airport, be it in Kingston or in Montego Bay, every time I come back to Jamaica, it has a stamp that lets them know that I live in and I have permission to live in Jamaica in my passport. Every time I come back and they see, the immigration officer sees that stamp, they fill out their little form, and without fail, no matter the immigration officer, no matter the airport in Jamaica, they tell me, welcome home. It might seem like a little thing, but I always appreciate that, especially after a flight. You're kind of tired, especially in that kind of setting where things could be a bit stressful. Hammer back my passport and always say, welcome home, man. It is just fantastic. I always enjoy that. As opposed to when I go back Trinidad in Piarco Airport, maybe once somebody tell me welcome back, and I've been through that airport many times. Now, I might just be picking on Trinidad more because I'm Trinidadian, so I feel a bit more, empowered to be a bit more critical of Trinidad. But every time I pass through there, it's always like they stamp on my passport and they just pass it back. A lot of them, most of the times, no words are exchanged. They just look, stamp, and pass it back and turn on the light for the next person. No kind of interaction, no kind of welcoming. Do with that what you will.
Ah, boy. Passing through the airport in Trinidad, it can be very cold, real cold. You don't feel a welcoming spirit and a welcoming vibe. The truth be told, though, the few times that I've been to Trinidad, my experience with the people, it has been good. I've never been poorly treated by the people at all. They were welcoming, people talk with you. People were very personable. That was my experience. But going through that airport, you don't feel welcome at all. It can feel very cold.
And then, of course, we have to talk about the accent. There's only so much I could say about this. The Jamaican accent is definitely more popular worldwide. Everybody's a bit more aware of it. But most of the time when there is any Caribbean person is on TV or being represented on TV, they sound Jamaican. Thankfully, it's getting better. But I've been told by many people that the Trinidad accent is very sweet. And I would agree with it. It has a nice rhythm. It has a nice flow. Don't you agree? Remember, I'm biased, okay? And I'd like to now talk about what I spoke about earlier in the video, the rivalry between the islands. And it's been my experience, as I mentioned before, as a Trinidadian living in Jamaica, in the island of Jamaica, I have felt very welcome. I know people who go to Carnival, Jamaicans who go to Carnival every year, and they love it. They're treated well. And I know of people, Jamaicans, who went to Trinidad for you in the St. Augustine campus, and they were welcomed and they were treated very well. I have drawn the conclusion that Trinidadians in Jamaica and Jamaicans in Trinidad on the islands, we get along really well. We treat each other well. So where does this rivalry comes from? Where does this Jamaica is better, Trinidad is better thing comes from when you hear it from time to time? I actually believe that most of the interactions between Trinidadians and Jamaicans and even other islands does not happen on the islands. It doesn't happen in Trinidad, Jamaica, or any other Caribbean. It happens in foreign countries. In the US, I think especially in Miami and New York, other places like London and Toronto. As you all know, in New York, in Brooklyn, there is a Jamaican section, and in Queens, in Liberty Avenue, there is a Trinidad section. And when you're living in a country that's not your home, you feel the need to express your patriotism more than you need to in Trinidad. Because in Trinidad, you're a Trini. Everybody else is Trini. But when you're away, you have to show that you're a Trini. You have to show that you're a Jamaican. I've had interactions with Trinidadians in the US. I have a lot of family in the US. And I've had interactions with Jamaicans in the US. You always hear about this. Jamaicans are aggressive. The only real aggressive Jamaicans I've ever come across is Jamaicans who live in the US, all right, because they really want to show their national pride living in a different country. And similarly with Trinidad. So I feel that a lot of the rivalry that happens is not based on interactions in the islands, in the actual countries. It's based on immigrants living in a different country trying to show their patriotism. That's my very unscientific take on why there might be some rivalry in the Caribbean diaspora.
All my viewers, all those who are watching, what do you think about the points that were made and shared in this particular video? Now it's your time to tell me your experience between the two countries, Trinidad and Jamaica. Or if you might want to share about your experience with Trinidad and another Caribbean island, or Jamaica and another Caribbean island, go right ahead and put it in the comment section. But I would love to hear from you what your experience has been, because we really need to talk about what is happening in Caribbean with our own kind of friendly rivalry that we have when we talk about the islands and which it is that we prefer, etc. And of course, we want some objective comments, of course, in the comment section. But we'll also have some biased ones. We can't get away from that. We are all going to hold on to who we are. All right. So looking forward to your comments. And of course, this brings us to the end of this video. I'm going to put the link for the channel in the comment section. And so you can go to his channel to, just to explore and see some of the things that he has spoken about as it relates to Jamaica. All right. So thank you so much for watching. And until I make another video, don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe to my channel. See you next time, and walk good.